Hello, everyone. Welcome to MPOWER's special live session about I-20s, support letters, visas, everything explained. We're going to give a 30 seconds for people to join. That number is climbing pretty rapidly, so give us a few seconds. But it's great to have you here today. Cool. So some reminders if you haven't attended one of our live sessions before. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see something called Q&A. That is where you can ask us questions, as many questions as you want, any point during this session. And so during the first part of this session, we have some content with our experts here. And then the second half will be dedicated just to your questions. But we won't have anything to talk about if you don't ask us questions. So please go ahead, use the Q&A function, send us questions at any point. And our chat moderators will answer, or we'll answer your questions live. Great, so my name is Claire Almand. I have been with MPOWER a little over 5 years now, and I'm a senior marketing manager. And something that has always impressed me about MPOWER is not only are we the best loan company for international students, we put our money where our mouths are. We believe in international students and their journey because many of us were international students, and we want to make it better for future international students like you to achieve your dreams. So I am your host today, and with me I have the A team, which is Arbaaz, a current international student, former student loan expert, Ashish, our director of underwriting and also a former international student, and then Art, our immigration attorney expert, all here to help answer your questions today. So before the panelists introduce themselves a little bit more, I'm going to send out a poll just to figure out who we have on the Zoom today. So give me a second, I will send that out. And it is launched. So go ahead and answer the poll. And while you're doing that, I'm going to have each of our panelists introduce themselves. And I think I will start with Arbaaz. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here, by the way. Hello, everyone. My name is Arbaaz Hashmy. I'm an international student from India, currently in my full-time MBA program at Johns Hopkins University. Before my MBA, I had a decade-long career in partnership management and business development across multiple industries, which culminated in my role at MPOWER, where I managed partnerships for the organizations. And I thought, well, I've been helping students get this experience, why not get this myself? And well, here I am. And I can safely say what Claire mentioned about MPOWER being one of the best lender out there for international students.
Wait, one of the best? I hear one of the best?
The best in lender, yes. So sorry about that, I messed up. Good to be here.
Thank you so much, Arbaaz. And so Ashish, tell us more about you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashish. I'm Director of Underwriting and Analytics at MPOWER. For this session, you should know that I was an international student here. I came to US in 2015 as an international student to do my MS and MBA, and it has been an amazingly rewarding journey. I also took a loan for my education, and I went through the entire I-20 process and the visa process. Once that was done, I attended school here in US at University of Maryland. That was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire lifetime. And after that, I joined MPOWER as a full-time employee.
Great, thank you so much, Ashish. Fun fact, Ashish and I were classmates. I know, fun fact. And then last but never least, Art, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Art Serratelli, and I am an immigration lawyer, and I work with MPOWER. And I don't know if you've heard, but MPOWER is the best place. MPOWER is great because they're not just about loaning your money. I'm an immigration lawyer. They found me. They found people who are in your exact shoes now, who have progressed through the system before you're even starting, and they're at the other end. everyone you talk to, everyone you speak with is doing this for more than just because it's their job. It's not just a job. This is a whole process of funding and getting you into the right path to make the right immigration decisions, to settle down and live in the country where you think your future is going to be best served. This is way more than just loaning money. It's great. It's holistic and it's good.
Nice. You'd think I prepped him. I didn't. Thanks, Art.
Yeah, no, that was all off the top of my head.
Awesome.
So I help out. After the graduation from school. What do you do to get into the workforce? That's where I come in. And they had the foresight to find me to help with that part way in the future. So everybody has high hopes for you.
Awesome.
Okay, Red, sorry. Go ahead.
I was like, couldn't have planned these intros better if we'd practiced, which can't say we did. But if you have joined just recently, missed the intro at the beginning, there is a poll going on that I'm going to close in a second. And it's just to figure out just a little bit more about who we have represented today. If you have questions at any point during this session, as many questions as you want, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Either our chat moderators will answer you quickly or we'll answer your question live, but send us as many questions as you have. I will say, if it's a very detailed question, we probably won't answer it live, might not be relevant. So please feel free to ask us detailed questions and our chat moderators can jump in, but we'll probably be taking the more general ones live today. So about to close the poll, you have 5 seconds, maybe 4 seconds, 3, 2, and 1. So ending the poll. I'll share the results. So 77% of attendees are from Africa. That is great for us to know today, to help tailor some of our answers, with a lot of representation as well from South and Southeast Asia. Great to have everyone. In terms of career path, looks like we have a lot of business students. 41% plan to go into business, with a quick runner-up of engineering, manufacturing, technology, or STEM. And then I see some communications and information systems as well, among human services. And then we have the really important hot weather or cold weather question. I have to say that I'm a cold weather person. I don't know if you can tell from my background, but definitely a cold weather. It seems I'm in the minority, but equal split almost between hot weather and cold weather. And most people are like, nah, room temperature, please. Real quick, Ashish, Arbaaz, cold, hot, room temperature, we have to know.
Definitely rainy season.
Okay, we'll ignore you.
Cold weather, cold weather.
Cool, nice.
All right, summer. Hot.
Cool. So we have all types here. So I'm gonna stop sharing and we'll get into the programming. Excellent. So just to sort of lead into this session, we're going to start with some of the basics. So starting off with, what is a visa? And Art, if you can take this first. What is a visa?
Well, a visa is issued by the country where you want to enter, America, Canada, wherever, and you get the visa in your home country from the government of the place you want to go to. And to get a visa in America, you'd get an F1 student visa, and you have to prove 3 basic things. You got to demonstrate to the person who's going to make a decision, yes or no, at the U.S. consulate, the United States consulate in your country. You got to demonstrate that you are you're going to show up and actually go to school. You meet all the requirements to get into a school, admitted, and then attend and not flunk out. So you have a purpose for being here. Usually the I-20 covers that. Then you show that you've got sources of funding for all your expenses, not just tuition, all of it. Eating, you got to eat, you have to have a place to sleep. So funding is number 2. You have a source of funding. And 3, that you intend, this is the most important one, you have an intention to return to your home country. Even if you think in the future you're going to just stay right where you went to school in America or Canada, and you're just going to stay, you don't tell the guy that, or the lady at the window that, because when you're interviewing, at the minute you're speaking, you have to intend in that minute that you're going to go back home. But then, you know, after you get to America, you could change your mind and stay and get a work visa. But in that minute, you better be going back home, and you better have a good reason why you're going to go back home. That's a visa.
Wonderful. And then Ashish, what's the sort of underwriting how MPOWER uses visa answer for how we use visas?
Yeah, we use visas. Actually, if you're going to a US school, MPOWER doesn't need you to upload a visa at all. We just need your I-20. And we use I-20, which you use to get your visa, to verify whether you're going to the school that you're claiming to go to in your application, and to ensure that you are going to the program that you are saying that you're going to. That's the only reason why we need the I-20. And then you can use that I-20 to apply for your visa. And you can use that visa to enter US and work and study here, and get a driver's license if you need one. Or you can even use your visa to re-enter US if you go out for vacation or something.
Great. And so, Arbaaz, I'm going to use you to transition to the next question. So one, I'd love to hear just a bit more about your own visa journey. I remember it's interesting. And then two, tell us more about support letters. And then I'm going to have the other two answer this one as well.
Sure thing. So my visa journey was a little interesting because I applied for the visa last year, which was a very COVID-ridden time. So timelines were rushed. There weren't any visa slots available for the most part of the available time when we had between the admit and the visa appointments. And everybody was just scrambling for any appointment date that they could get, no matter where are the, because India has, like back in India, they had like 5 consulates, if I'm not wrong, 4 or 5. And you need to, like, there were 2 processes to a visa, you know, the whole thing. One is your biometrics, and the other one is actual interview. So your biometric could be in another city, your interview could be in another city. Having said that, I was a little lucky, and I'll at least elaborate on exactly what happened, you know, in further down the session as well. But in my experience, support letter was the first step towards getting that visa. It was part of that proof of funds process for my school, something that I have to submit to the school that, okay, they have given me admit, but I need to show that I can actually support my education and I have the funds. So for me, since unfortunately I could not take a loan from MPOWER at that time because of the funding amount requirement, I ended up taking from an Indian lender. And so they gave me an approval letter that I had to send. I had some scholarship from the school as well, so I submitted that as a proof too. And all of that together was part of my support letter or proof of fund process. And that's exactly how I got my I-20 as a next step.
Awesome. And so, Art, can you describe officially what a support letter is? And then I'm going to turn it to Ashish to talk about how MPOWER issues them and how it fits into our process.
Okay. So when you want to come to America to study, the immigration process starts with the people in admissions, and they admit you to the school and issue an I-20. An I-20 is an official government document, but it comes from the school. And to get that I-20 in the admissions process, you've got to prove to the school you have money to pay for tuition and all your expenses. So the timeline is line up a school through getting admission, line up funding to pay for it, and then prove all that to the school. I'm formally admitted, I have funding, and then they'll give you the I-20. You take the I-20 to the embassy, the consulate, and that place will say, an I-20, you've been formally admitted and you must have the funds. Let's ask you some questions about that. And then the I-20 hopefully gets you the visa.
Awesome. So Ashish, how can people get a support letter from MPOWER?
So it's very simple process. You submit an application, you provide all the documents to us, and if you meet our loan underwriting criteria, we will issue you a support letter. Or uh, if you do not have I-20 as part of your documents that you have provided us, we will issue a support letter to you. And you can use that support letter to go to your school. And like Art said, you can prove to your school that you have this much money from MPOWER for your first year of education. And you can get an I-20 using our support letter from the school. And I repeat, you only have to show funding for your first year of tuition to your school to get your I-20.
Awesome. So I think my next question was going to be like, what's an I-20? But I think we covered that pretty safely. So Arbaaz, can you explain sort of the whole process for you and what it looks like in brief, just to reiterate how everything's connected? And then Ashish, explain the relationship for MPOWER's process. So two very similar questions that might be a little bit of a repeat, but it's important.
Well, to start off, I'm gonna say that start the process as soon as possible. That's very important because you don't know what could happen in the world, in your university, back at home, something that could delay your process entirely. And something that you need to understand is that your schools are also going to work in a normal capacity as any other organization. So they're going to get backlogged with these requests for I-20. You need to, because it's a seasonal thing, between May and July, they have a ton of requests for I-20s, and they have only limited employees to work with it. So that being said, the process has to start way as soon as possible. As soon as you get the admit, start looking for your support letters, your funds, and everything else. For me, I think I received my admit sometime around in April, and after that, COVID hit. So I didn't know if I was actually going for for my education or not. And gradually, there was no lender who was actually willing to offer loans at that time because everybody had stopped. Nobody knew if things are going to happen. But thankfully, things turned my way and I was able to secure a loan. I got a secured loan, not a very awesome thing, but yeah, I got one. After that, I submitted the required documents, the proof of funds to my school. And I had to wait for about 25 days to get my I-20, to be honest, because it's no no underperformance or anything on a school's part. It's just that they were very busy and it was a hectic time for everyone at that time. So once I get my I-20, that's when I start the process of applying for the visa, because you cannot start the visa process until you get an I-20. You have to enter the I-20 number as well in your visa application. So it's a very sequential process, and sometimes it can be frustrating, and it was frustrating for me because there was a time for about a month or two and I thought, okay, that's it for my dream. It's not going to happen. But ultimately things worked out, and I was able to get a visa appointment, was able to travel. I had to travel to 2 different cities to get a visa. I'll elaborate on that as well in the session. But yeah, that's how things look like, and it's a sequential process. So you can't really do a lot of things simultaneously, and you have to wait for the other party to respond at times. It's not really in your hands entirely, and that's why my first advice is start as early as possible.
It's great advice, Arbaaz. And so Ashish, over to you, sort of like just walk us through the MPOWER process.
Yes. So once we issue a support letter to you, you should use that support letter as a proof of funds to get your I-20 from the school. And once you get your I-20 from the school, you submit that I-20 to MPOWER. Again, I'll repeat, we do not need your visa to approve the loan for you. We just need your I-20 if you're going to a US school. And once you submit your I-20, we review your I-20 and then we issue you an approval. So that's the process that we follow here at MPOWER. And in terms of the entire experience of getting the I-20, I would just say, like, be patient, check your emails and mailbox daily. And if your school has any questions about the funds that you have provided, answer them promptly and clearly. and there's no reason why you should not get your I-20 with MPOWER support letter. And then be patient with the US Embassy as well. If you're not able to get appointments, escalate it and get a urgent appointment. So patience is the key in the entire process because everything can take a little bit of time.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Ashish. So, Art, this is a fun question that we get a lot. And so really looking forward to your expertise here. What sort of questions will I be asked in my visa interview?
That's a good, all right. So at the interview, you don't get much time and you got to convince the person that you're confident and whatever you say to in response to each question in total makes a logical story, a logical picture. So they'll ask you, oh, hey, you want to study outside of our country. You want to go to America. Why? Well, I want to just get the heck out of here. I don't ever want to come back here again. No, don't say that. You're going to be denied. You want to go to America to study because, and fill in the blank, whatever the answer is, but it better be believable. And don't say you want to go sightseeing and you want to go buy stuff in New York. No, you want to go to school. You want to get the skills you need. You want to go to school. You want to get the skills you need to do X, whatever X is, whatever. Then 2, oh, you want to go to America. Oh, because that's the place where the schools excel at teaching X. Okay. Then why that school? Why does the name of this school show up on your I-20? What do you want to do there? Why there? Why not there? Why Santa Monica County Community College for computers and not MIT? Why? You better have an answer. So why America? Why your particular school? And then I guess the other thing is you gotta absolutely convince them you're gonna go back home. And everybody calls this the ties to your home country. Don't think of it like that. Think of it like this, because then they'll say, oh, ties to your home country. Do you have an apartment? Do you own a condo? Do you have a lot of money in the bank? And you're young. The answer is no, no, no. Do I have a car? No. Do I have a condo? No. Do I have money in the bank? No. Hello, I'm borrowing from MPOWER. No. So what do you have to get across? You gotta get across why you want to go back home. Because if you don't, they're going to think you're just a young person who wants to get out of this place where you grew up, get away from your parents, and just go to America and marry somebody and stay. That's what they're going to think. So you got to have a reason. I want to study X at that school because that's the best school in America that would admit me, given my credentials. And when I get this skill, I'm coming back to my home country. I plan to learn how to swim underwater with no scuba gear. Good luck. But I plan to come home and work on these types of projects to make my country a better place. So those are the questions. You got to say, why America? Or why Canada, wherever, why this particular school, why this subject, and why you're gonna go back. The best reason is, well, my father has connections with or owns a company and they got a job lined up for me already. I just need to go get the skills and I'll be back. Something like that. But did that help? Did that help, Claire?
Yes, no, it did help. And in fact, Arbaaz and Ashish are going to sort of build up on that. So sort of have the technical advice there. Arbaaz, Ashish, what did you use as your personal ties and what advice do you have here? And I'll start with Arbaaz.
Okay, so yeah, as Art mentioned, I was definitely asked the why question, why Johns Hopkins and why this program makes sense for you. So there's a lot of alignment that one needs to do with their career goal and why this school, this program is a stepping stone towards that. And that what's even better is if you can point out that your career goal kind of aligns with coming back to your home country in a way. So for me, it was along the lines of that I have a family business that I need to take care of in the medical history. And Johns Hopkins is known for healthcare and medicines and all of those. And it just was a natural alignment with what I said and what I had. I mean, I still have that family business. It wasn't a lie, but that story played well because it just made sense of my age, my experience, and it just, I'm currently going to Johns Hopkins and talking about my family business and something that would help me manage that. And that's true. I am going to come back in some time and manage that business as well. But that is how effortless it should be. Any forceful, and those visa officers are going to see through it. I was fortunate enough to prepare with a visa officer, ex-visa officer, and they were able to help me out with some context about what's going on in the mind, and how exactly are they looking to approve or reject people a little bit. So thankfully, my story was a little well framed, and I was lucky in that case. Yeah, but I got rejected 2 times before that as well. So that's another story. Yes, that's it. I got rejected.
So what did the guy tell you when he was saying what goes on in their mind? Because there's a lot going on in their mind, and the students need to know, like, what are they really thinking? And
exactly.
then okay, and so why does your story hang together to convince them everything in their mind is wrong? So give us an example.
Okay, sure thing. So, I mean, the previous 2 instances when I got rejected back was back in 2019. It was a B1 B2 visa that I was going on, and I got rejected twice in a matter of matter of 1 month, I think. The idea was I think they weren't convinced that I had a legitimate reason to go, and why. I wasn't able to convince them about the whole reason of why it makes sense for me to visit right now. And then they did ask me questions about, well, are you married? Do you who else is in your family back home and everything else, and what you have been doing so far? And I think that kind of triggered the whole rejection process. I don't know, because they never give you a reason of what exactly went wrong. But what changed in my third part was that I was prepared to answer that question, the rejection, well, of why it happened and how my story has changed since then as well. It was a B1 B2 right now. I took some time, and I prepared my story well, in the sense of that, okay, this is a legitimate reason. I'm going to go and study in Johns Hopkins, get my MBA. Makes sense. But I was ready to answer that question. I had a good explanation ready. And I think that's very important, that you shouldn't avoid talking about your rejections, because they know that you got rejected, and it could come up, and it's as simple as that. Fortunately, it never did in my interview, but I think it's highly likely that anybody who's going to go after rejection will face this question: why were you rejected? Do you have an idea on that, and how things have changed? Yeah.
And we're running a little bit close on time before we want to turn back to Q&A. So I'm going to actually move us along, unless Ashish, did you want to? Yeah,
I'll add a couple of things here. One, do not be to the point when you answer the immigration agent during your interview. Do not provide information that is not asked for. So here, for an example, if they don't ask you why your visa was rejected earlier, don't yourself tell them like, my visa got rejected earlier. If they don't ask you why you want to study for this program, don't overshare. So they will look for such things. Like if you are oversharing and making up a story for some reason, that raises red flags. So be on the point. Only answer the question that they're asking for, and be precise. Do not overshare information with them.
great. So Art, here's a quick one. Can I get a visa appointment before getting my I-20?
No. If you want a student visa, you got to have an I-20 to walk in the door of the consulate. So the order of things is I-20, then the visa, but that's just for the immigration part of this. The financing stuff and MPOWER's paperwork, MPOWER issues the I-20. Well, they give you the support letter that then gets you the I-20 from your school.
So Ashish, I'm going to work in a user question here, or a participant question. Why does MPOWER require an I-20 as a document?
So we use I-20 to verify that you are going to that particular school, and you are going to attend that school for a particular specialization. We have a lot of students who have admits from multiple schools, and they have loans approved from multiple schools. So this is just a verification for us that you are actually going to that particular school and attending that particular program.
And if you're unfamiliar with our loan, we pay the school directly. Doesn't go straight to the to the person. And so it's important for us to know you're actually attending. Next question. If I don't have my visa yet, should I still try to get approved for an education loan, Ashish?
Absolutely, because we issue you an I-20 and you use that, we issue you a support letter and that support letter helps you get a visa. So MPOWER doesn't need a visa to approve you for a loan. If you're going to a US school, we just need your I-20. And if you are going to a Canadian school, we need nothing. We don't even need so there's no I-20 for Canadian schools, so we can approve you directly there, even if you don't have a visa.
Great. And so just to clarify, I think for the people in the back or the people that joined this session a little late, I see that the number keeps climbing. So guys, correct me when I mess up. You apply for an MPOWER loan and you get a support letter from us saying, yo, you got the money. Send it to your school. They issue you the I-20. You take the I-20 and get a visa appointment. Did I get that relationship wrong in any way or anything you want to clarify?
Parallelly, also provide that I-20 to MPOWER so that we can process your loan.
Yeah, that's important too. We totally want to approve you. Chat moderators, or can someone share the link to our application for those who haven't applied yet in the chat for anyone that just heard that yes, they should apply now. Let's make it easy for them. So if you haven't yet applied for a loan, you need one, there'll be a link in the chat so you can get started now. And then one more question, and then I'm going to turn it over to user questions. So if you haven't put your question in the Q&A field yet, now is the time. Get your questions in. So my application got denied. And to be specific, my visa application got denied. What now? Art, we'll start with you.
Well, if your visa application gets denied, you could always reapply as long as you have time in the process to sit in class. When you need to show up in class and sit there, you could always reapply. So just because you're denied doesn't mean it's over. This gentleman right here, 3 denials of a visa, and he finally got one. So he didn't give up. Don't give up.
Great. And so Ashish, if someone gets, was approved for a loan essentially, but was, denied the visa, what do you recommend as next steps?
Couple of things. One, if you are planning to reapply for your visa for the same academic period, you can go ahead and apply for a visa again, attend the interview, and hopefully you will get approved the second time, and we can still process your application. And for some reason, if there is no time left to attend the school for that particular semester, and you want to defer your admission to another semester or next semester. So say if you're applied for a loan for fall semester, and we issued you a support letter for the fall semester, and for some reason you want to defer the admission to spring semester, send us a request stating that you are deferring your admission by 1 semester, and we can use the same loan that we have already approved you for, and we can transfer that from fall to spring semester. It's a very seamless process at our end.
Great. So we're going to turn it over to going more into our participant questions. Woo, drum roll maybe. So let's see, what's a good one that's good for everyone? So does the school of choice affect the visa interview? As in, does the school you go to make a big impact on whether you'll get approved or denied? That's a popular question.
No, I mean, you don't need to go to an Ivy League school and be Albert Einstein. I have students who have contacted me after arriving in America, and they've gotten an F1 visa to learn English as a second language. So I would say no, the school and the quote caliber of the school doesn't matter, but it matters in the alignment of the story. In other words, if that school makes sense for you personally, that's what's important. This student really needed to learn English. But then when they got proficient in English with the F1, they were automatically accepted into a sister program at a university. So your school needs to make sense for you. That's my answer.
Great. So next question, I think for Ashish, I have some confusion about the support letter. Is the MPOWER support letter the same one for the visa interview and the one I need for my school? Can you help me clarify this? So Ashish, tell us more.
Absolutely. It's the same letter that you shared with your school to get I-20. You can carry the same letter to your visa interview. And if your immigration agent at the interview asks you for proof of funds, provide them that support letter. Again, only if they ask you. Do not provide them by default.
Great. So Art, if there are no appointments in your home country, can one travel to another country to apply?
You could, that would be called third country processing. You might want to check before you show up somewhere. For example, with this thing in the Ukraine, with Russia in Ukraine stirring up the pot, students have to go to Poland. I mean, if you're in Ukraine, you got to go to Poland, period. So it is possible. Let's put it that way. We had one client from Australia who got a visa appointment in Singapore because she didn't want to wait 9 months in Australia, and Singapore could take her in 3 weeks. So you got to be creative and you got to be persistent. And I would check before I got on an airplane to Singapore. I would make sure that the appointment was real and I had confirmation of that appointment.
I'll also share my visa story. So when I applied for my visa, there was no interviews available anywhere in India. What you can also do is you can apply for an emergency interview slot with your local US consulate and provide them the details. For example, you can say that my program is starting in 2 weeks' time or next week. I need to get visa this week. Can you give me an emergency appointment? And what you will find out is most of the time, US embassies will go out of their way to schedule an appointment for you.
So Arbaaz, I'm going to start with you, but then transfer over to Art. What type of documentation was important for your visa interview to kind of, solidify your story? Tell us a little bit more about what you did, and then Art can tell us what he recommends.
For my visa interview, right? You said?
Yeah, visa interview.
I remember taking every documentation there was. Soft copies, 2 hard copies each, with my bank statement. So it started off, my natural thought process was, okay, I need everything from my school. So admit letter, I-20, definitely need those. I need everything from my finances, the bank letter. I need my account statements. I need my scholarship letter, anything that I had. Then at the same time, if I have my travel plans or where I'm going to stay, do I have anything sorted out over there? Do I have any proof for that? But when I went there, and it kind of was surprising because they only asked just for my I-20 and my passport. They never even asked for any other documentation. They did ask me how am I going to fund my education, because that was a very crucial question because the amount was quite high. So I did tell them about my loan and exactly then the scholarship that I had from the school. But other than that, they never saw any documentation as a proof. And I don't know, I got to know from some people, and this is just totally like a secondhand thing as well. And I got to know from the person I helped prepare with that it's easy to forge documentations. And that's why US Embassy has been, like the officers have been trained to, assess people rather than documents. Sometimes documentation is required and they will collect they would need some extra, documentation from you, but that's an exception. That's not a trend. Fortunately, I was not asked for extra documentation, but during the interview process, the only thing I was asked was those 2 things, I-20 and my visa. But they did ask me about my funding process too.
And then Art, before you jump in, one person asked, do you need your bank statement and I-20 for my visa interview. And so maybe you can also touch on that as you answer sort of what documentation you would bring to your visa interview.
I think Arbaaz got it absolutely right. In other words, bring, but don't offer, just bring. And you could even put the stack of papers next to you so they see that they're there, but it's a prop. It's a prop showing you take it seriously. They look at you right in the eye and they want to make sure you're not being weird. You're not oversharing. Like Ashish said, you're not oversharing. You're answering what they ask you. You're not volunteering paper like a madman or a mad woman. You're just there and you're confident. You're answering their questions. It's no big deal, but you don't take it lightly. You're very serious. You got your papers there and a piece of paper for everything. Use common sense. Use common sense. You have funding? Do you have anything to show me that supports that? Well, yeah, you better have your loan letter. Your father has a company? Oh, yeah, Mr. Fancy Pants, company owner. Show me a picture of the company. Tell me the website. Tell me the website. So you need stuff. Everything you say, you should have a piece of paper for, just like Arbaaz said, but it's all about you. They just know when you're full of baloney and they know when you're telling a logical, reasonable answer to them. That's about it.
And I think it's kind of similar to applying for a loan and the visa. Ashish, I think there's something in underwriting called like trust but verify or something similar. Can you tell us a little bit why MPOWER needs documents, why the visa officers want documents?
Yes. So when we are issuing you a support letter, that's a guarantee from MPOWER that to your school, and if you go for a visa interview, that MPOWER is going to fund that amount for you. And in order to provide that guarantee to your school and to the visa officer, we need to verify what school you're going to. We need to verify what program that you are going to. And you actually have, so if MPOWER is approving you for, say, $70,000 and your program is $80,000, we need to know that you have that extra $10,000 with you. So that's why we ask you for that document for that extra $10,000. And our guarantee is set in stone when we issue our support letter. And that's why schools recognize that support letter as proof of funds for you. And even the visa officer will recognize that as a proof of fund for you.
Great. And so Ashish, one follow-up. If I need to make a change to my application, or I think this individual actually wants to change a school or country, how does one make a change to their loan application if they're already in our funnel?
That's a very good question, Claire. What I would do is I would reach out to your relationship manager and inform them about what has changed in your application, and then work with them to find out the best way to make that change.
Great. And then several people have mentioned that they're going to need to defer their enrollment for, different issues, visa or otherwise. Ashish, do they need to reapply for the loan, or can you walk us through what a deferral looks like?
Absolutely. So a lot of students, because of circumstances, decide that they don't want to go to school during the fall season. When I say fall season, it's the August, September intake, but they want to come to US during January or February, or maybe next year. So depending on your situation, we can either update your existing application to a different period, or we will tell you we cannot update your existing application to a different period. You have to apply again. And it depends. So if you're moving ahead by just one semester, so instead of fall, you're coming back, you've decided to move to spring, we can directly update your application and transfer your current application from fall to spring. But if you are planning to attend school next year in fall, we might ask you to submit another application in that case.
Great. And so, Art, I want to be conscious of the fact that 77% of our participants said they're from Africa. And then I know off the top of my head that we tend to get a lot of applicants from Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya. Do you have any region or country specific advice based on your experience that you could help our audience or share with our audience?
Someone mentioned earlier that I think it was India. It might be kind of easy. It might be kind of easy to produce fraudulent, fake, photoshopped documents and present those to the consulate and pretend they're real. So sadly, American consulates have a bias against or for all the people of a country based on the behavior of a few or more than a few. So countries where documents might be fake are, off the top of my head, the Philippines, Vietnam, some Eastern European countries, and Nigeria is on the list. So if you're from Nigeria, bring your documents, but don't say, no, these are real. I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar. I'm not like those other Nigerians. Don't say that, but keep in your mind that the guy is already influenced by what your fellow countrymen have tried to pull before you got there. So you want to maybe stand out, dress neatly, dress with a nice collared shirt or skirt and a blouse. Bring your papers, stack them up, but then it comes down to, again, you and them. They look you in the eye. So if your story hangs together and it's consistent, and if you have paper that they ask for, don't give it to them voluntarily. They'll ask, they will ask. You can overcome this bias based upon the behavior of your fellow countrymen, because it's so unfair to judge you by everybody else in your country. You're you. You're not going to get fake documents. You're coming to Johns Hopkins. You're coming to Harvard. You're not going to the consulate with fake papers. So act like a person who would not do that. But don't say you're not a faker, because then that means, I am not a crook. Yeah, well, you just behave like a respectable young person and you should be fine. But know that they've already made a judgment about you based on everybody else in your country who feeds them fraudulent documents. Is it fair? No, it's not.
Great. So I have sort of a sequence question based on just a lot of questions we're receiving. So I'm going to ask Ashish how long a support letter is valid. I'm going to ask Art how long an I-20 or visas are valid. So starting with Ashish.
Support letter is valid for the semester that you applied for. So you can, as long as you are applying for visa or I-20 for that particular semester, it's valid for that. If you are again changing your loan period, reach out to your relationship manager and we can work with you to give you an updated support letter if that is something we can do.
Right, then Art.
And the I-20, so when you get to the border and they let you into the United States, they, inside the United States, look to a couple of things to make sure you're here legally for a certain period of time. They look to your visa to make sure you got into the country legally. And they also can have access to your entry record. At the border, they put your name and what place, what airport you came through, and you have an entry record, an I-20, and your visa. Okay, so you're a student. Ideally, the I-20 and the visa would be good for if you're a bachelor's degree seeker. You'd have a 4-year visa, and then because there's this thing called optional practical training, and if you have access to these slides that sort of spell out the long-term.
Yeah, sorry everyone. We'll be emailing out a resource afterwards. What Art just picked up. So
yeah, that thing is awesome. It's in a nutshell, everything you need to know in one little picture. graduation does not kill your F1. You graduate and then you get a minimum of 1 year of full-time work to learn in real life what you learned in the books. So a visa, an I-20 should be good for at least 5 years, but not always. And there's reasons for that and blah, blah, blah. But generally speaking, the I-20 and the visa should be at least good enough to get you through all the years of your program. And then maybe they add an extra year for that work period after you graduate. As an F1, you can work after you graduate with permission from the US government. Don't just go off and work without any permission. You got to do it right. And these resources will explain all that.
Great. So heads up attendees, this is the last 10 minutes. So if you haven't put a question in yet that you have, and you have one, now is definitely the time. And so one question that I see a lot of is, how does the support letter work with MPOWER's approval process? Can I get the support letter before final approval, or how does that work? And Ashish, I think this is a good question for you.
Absolutely. Support letter is always issued before final approval. And again, to repeat the entire process, we issue you a support letter, and then you can use that support letter to get an I-20 from the school. And then you use that I-20 to apply for a visa. And you also provide that I-20 to MPOWER, and we review your I-20 and then we issue you an approval.
Great. And Arbaaz, I actually have a quick question for you based on something that might have confused our attendees. So I heard you say earlier that you took a loan from someone else and not MPOWER. Tell us more and how that worked out for you, and do you regret it?
Well, so the reason why I had to take another loan instead of MPOWER, because my need of funds was a little more than what MPOWER was offering at that time. MPOWER definitely offers up to $100,000 now. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. We haven't increased it again yet, right? Okay, cool. So $100,000, and I needed about $80,000 at that time, and for that so I had to go to a different lender. But it's not that I got a loan on awesome terms. I had to put up a mortgage, like a property for mortgage. I had to involve my parents as well. Not very awesome thing, something that I didn't want to do originally. And I really wish I had taken a loan from MPOWER because, first of all, I have been a part of the company, so I know inside out what to do is really genuine, and it's very passionate about the whole industry. The second thing was, as a customer, what MPOWER offers is really second to none, to be honest. It's without cosigner. I wouldn't have to include my parents at all. I wouldn't have to use many of my properties for mortgage or for getting as a collateral or a security. And third was, it's not just a lender-borrower relationship. MPOWER really invest, and I was part of that program briefly when I was in the organization called Path to Success, something that really helps international students get out there. And they really believe that we'll be successful as long as our students are successful, and only if our students are successful. So that's an ideology that goes a long way as a borrower for me. And I would have welcomed you, because as an international student, you need to understand that there are going to be challenges which normal US citizens would not face in your program. There are immigration challenges, career development challenges, opportunity challenges, and if you have a helping hand right there from the start, be a group of people who have already gone through the journey and would like to help you as well. That's tremendous, to be honest, right? That's you can call it your own alumni council and use it, reach out to them, ask for advice, and that really helps. And I feel there's not a lot of support system in place for this. I mean, my university did not have one specifically for international students, and it's a top ranked university. So I can tell you that how much this support system is needed. And that's why I wish I could have gone for MPOWER. But yeah, that's for another time. Maybe next time.
I would never, ever appear on any panel like this for any other organization that lends money, ever. Do you think any other normal lender that wants to own a piece of your property in case you don't repay, that's got your mom and dad involved, do you think they're going to give you this that explains the entire immigration process through the green card. These folks now, before you even get the money, are talking about the green card already. And they found me to help for my little crazy part of the crazy process. These are good people. And I would not waste my time with anybody else because life is too short. Life is too short to worry about the next nickel. Money will come, people will borrow, people will repay, blah, blah, blah. That's paperwork. These people love people. It's a really good, I can't say enough. I really would not do this for anybody else. I really wouldn't. I'm not normal, but I don't think you guys are either. I think you're fantastic. I'm not kidding. I really mean it.
Thank you so much, Art. We really appreciate it. Wasn't expecting such a glowing review. We deserve it, but just wasn't wasn't quite expecting it.
No, you give educational seminars about immigration and career planning, and what lender does that? The lender doesn't care. They just care to get their money back. They don't care. You care.
Yeah, and so if you are not familiar with MPOWER, if you're one of the people here that aren't familiar with our programs, we have something called Path to Success, which if you become an MPOWER customer, you get for free, which means we help you with career development in your country of choice. We help you with financial, financial systems are different. So financial personal finance. And we also help with immigration. We got Art here. So we have a program just to help you be successful in your education journey. So that's Path to Success. We also offer a few other programs. We have a robust scholarship program just for international students. That means only you can apply. So if you need more money, look to that. We actually have a monthly one that changes monthly. So the chance every month to get a scholarship. There's also some other scholarships that aren't as often, but they're bigger amounts. And then we also have a student referral program. And I said student, actually anyone can use it. If you know an international student that is in need of funds, you can refer them to MPOWER. If they're approved, they get $100. You get $300. So everyone wins. Yay. So I think our chat moderator shared some links, but I could keep going. We have a variety of programs to help you be successful in addition to the loan. And so we're going to wrap up quickly. And so from each of you, and I'm going to start with Ashish, what advice do you have for our attendees today?
Be patient with your entire immigration and visa process to US or Canada, but at the same time, be on top of everything. Be precise in anything that anyone asks. Don't overshare any information. Yeah, and you will ultimately get your visa approved, and you'll be here in a US university pursuing your dreams.
Great. And so let's go with Art. Art, what advice can you distill down for our attendees?
Don't be intimidated by the consulate. Don't listen to other people. Don't let people freak you out. You stick to your own preparation. You stick to being confident. You're going to give them reasons that make sense internally consistent. So when they hear you answering, they'll nod. Oh, I see. Oh, that makes sense. Medical school, MBA, medical business in family back home. I see. Okay, approved. Don't listen to other people. Don't. Just be yourself and be confident.
And if you have questions, you have Art's contact information and you have MPOWER's. And then last, Arbaaz, what advice do you have based on your own experiences as an international student?
I think I'm going to just, do an extension of the advices that Ashish and Art gave. It's do everything that they said, but make sure that you do it as early as possible. And you should be aware of the process before you even get into one. Don't discover the next step when you reach there. Know what's the process looks like, and then do a backward planning from there. That is what worked for me, because I had that in the back of my mind, and I was able to apply the right timelines as well to my school, because I knew this is COVID times, things could get messy. Thankfully, I didn't delay in applying to those schools, and I got an admit on time. Any later, I don't think I would have made it to my semester. But make sure that you know the process and you start it as early as possible. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Arbaaz. And thank you to our panelists. Thank you to all three of you. I really appreciate the time today. And we are right at time. So we'll be emailing out a recording of this webinar, as well as the links we shared today. I think our chat moderator will share them all just now in case you missed them earlier. We'll be emailing out that resource. And then, yeah, I think that's it. We also have another session just like this next week, same time, same digital place. And we'd love to see you there. There'll be a survey going out where we appreciate your feedback. Did you like this session? Was it useful? What else do you want to see? We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for attending, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.